All right, Nick, when do you leave?
Never.
Oy vey, Izmir. So I'm I want to start right where I kind of left off. I was just finishing a Substack article and posting a video. Muppet Vision 3D is gone. I didn't know. First of all, we didn't even know when you were visiting, and it was last minute when you planned coming down to Florida this week. But it wasn't until you arrived that we kind of it all lined up, and we realized, oh, not only have you not seen Muppet Vision 3D, but this is actually literally your last chance.
First and last.
So, what are your thoughts?
It was awesome. I wish as I told you after we left, I wish I saw it before so I could see it again. Because, most of these shows have the little nuances and things like that sometimes take time to catch. Like I was asking you about the arrow thing towards the end. And actually, I saw a picture online of the last showing, and I saw the arrow in a picture. I did not see it with my own eyes, sadly. But yeah, no, it was great. I mean, I love the Muppets. Grew up with them, and overall, it was fun. It was great. I wish I got, like I said, I wish I got to see it a few times before it went, but I'm very glad and happy I got to at least see it once.
Now, Disney put out a promo video. It's just Kermit in front of a curtain. Doesn't sound like Kermit, but talking about how excited they are to move the Muppets down to Rock and Roller Coaster because the Muppets are taking over the Aerosmith coaster. And it doesn't fit. But not only does it not fit, it doesn't sound like Kermit, right? And it's hard to get on board with this idea that people should be excited that you're moving these characters down the way. It's like a demotion. There was a whole land there. You saw it. People were taking pictures outside. But there's a whole land there, stores, restaurants. And some of it has not been utilized in quite a long time, particularly post-pandemic. But they had a whole land there. It could have dovetailed into the Monsters, Inc. land. They could have, even if they were going to get rid of Muppets, there's just so many different ways that they could have gone about doing this. And I don't feel the need to buy into the hype. I would have never gone if it wasn't for the fact that you hadn't seen it. But what were your thoughts from if you can just put aside the fact that you had never seen the show before, in the context of it being sort of the goodbye, what were your thoughts on what that atmosphere was like?
I mean, you don't really realize it till after the fact. Well, I mean, I knew what was going on. In the pre-show, you definitely saw people taking a lot more pictures of specific things than you normally see when you go to see a show. So I noticed that, but I didn't, it wasn't like not overwhelming, but it wasn't like distracting. But I knew what they were doing. I'm like, all right, great. They're taking pictures of this thing before they don't get to see it again. The show is the show. I said to you as well afterwards, there are some people around me who started to like sing along and recite every line. And I was like, oh man, if this is what it's going to be like. But thankfully they stopped. So I did not have to hear people's own version of it.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, the show was fine. It was just the end. It was interesting. Which I think, well, I'm sure you'll go into more of a conversation or a discussion about it. But, at the end of the show, the cast members were very cool about letting people linger and take pictures. I mean, I walked out and then I was like, oh, where are you? I walked back in and there you are, waiting, and then people taking pictures. We were probably there till, like 15, 20 minutes plus past the end of the show, like once they clear everyone out. We spoke to a few cast members. Some of them were visibly crying and upset because this is like their last show. I guess they weren't working the next day. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of neat to be a part of it. I described it to you as like when you're in a bar and like the home team's playing and you're not a fan of them and you get to feel that excitement when they score a touchdown. It was kind of like that, where I got to kind of feel some of the excitement. Granted, I wasn't having the same emotional reaction, which whatever, to each their own. But yeah, it was just kind of neat. It was just neat to see, people kind of, I guess, reminiscing, thinking about the first time they saw it. I know you mentioned it a bit when we were talking, but Yeah, it was just kind of neat to be a part of something that, in a way, you can say, this is a part of Disney history, and I got to be a part of it, you know.
I don't even buy into the notion it's a part of Disney history
Well, whatever.
because it's artificial hype. And at the end of the day, I mean, you see these cast members crying, and I could see from a distance that they were upset. I didn't realize they were crying until I got closer. But when they can't say it. They all got you got the vibe off of them that they all felt like there's no reason for this to be happening. And there's a sense of pride for, I think, anyone working at an attraction, particularly in these theme parks. But it didn't have to happen. The same way the rivers of America don't need to be gutted. And I understand the concept of changing the park. So when the cast members and I were kind of going back and forth, and one of them said that, I said, absolutely, but if you're going to make change, let's improve upon things. And I would argue that gutting something that is as classic as this didn't need to happen. Again, you could have found a way to make Muppets and Monsters really work. You didn't have to get rid of all that. And now you're taking a completely different version of the Muppets and moving them down Sunset to a roller coaster ride where they don't belong. It's not going to be Jim Henson's Muppets. It's going to be Disney's Muppets. So in many ways, Disney is sort of homogenizing the Muppets further in doing this. I don't think the Rock and Roller Coaster attraction will be Muppets for long. I think it's a temporary fix to mitigate what they did by ripping this out. I said my goodbyes a long time ago. First of all, I don't need to say goodbyes to the attraction. My goodbyes are to the legacy and to the company identity, because when Michael Eisner attempted to do this deal, it was about preserving Jim Henson's legacy forever. But this deal killed Jim Henson. Jim Henson arrives at Hollywood Studios, MGM Studios, August 1989, and he's gone. He's gone in less than he's gone in months. I can't even remember the exact dates off the top of my head. I wasn't prepared to go down this road, but he's gone in a matter of months. The Disney deal killed him. Did a whole deep dive on this in a previous episode. But so what I find interesting is they didn't need to do it, but then they do it, and then they leverage every last bit of it to make money. And I understand that's what a company's going to do, but it's just sort of like there was, I forget what Muppet paraphernalia they were releasing a few weeks ago. I don't remember if it was there was something they were releasing a few weeks ago, and I'm like, really? Like, this is like one department doesn't know what the other one's doing. And I think they've done that with Splash Mountain and Tiana's Bayou Adventure. It's a little tone deaf. And it goes back to what I said. I wrote a Substack article this morning that I think all of this is purposeful. I think it's designed to alienate a certain type of person. You saw the type of person I'm talking about. There's no reason to be lined up to take pictures in front of a fountain. Ever. Right?
I mean, what about the Trevi Fountain in Italy?
I'm talking about in Disney World. I'm talking about in Disney World.
Okay.
I'm talking about in Disney World. I'm not talking about in the real world where there's real culture. I'm talking about in a theme park, which is the fast food equivalent of amusements. Okay? So this fountain's been there forever, and people are walking past it, but you can't tell me that people had the same visceral response to that fountain 6 months ago, 8 months, 8 years, I don't care, whenever, that they had to it the other night. I just find it all to be very, very disingenuous. The same way that I find Disney pulling the plug on it and saying we're hyped to move it down the street to be disingenuous. I think it's all bullshit, quite frankly, because there's no reason to be doing it. And if you're going to replace it, like, here's the next step, Nick. And I know you're not paying attention because you're on your cell phone. So I'm basically doing a podcast with myself, which is normal.
Said I'm basically doing a podcast with myself because I'm not paying attention on my phone. So
that's helpful. So anyway, if you were going to use half of your fucking brain as the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, you would say, why wouldn't we bridge the gap between Star Tours and Galaxy's Edge if we're already going to decimate Muppet Vision 3D? And I'm not advocating that that's the way to go. But if you cared about thematic integrity in the parks and you were already committed to gutting something, which I don't think you should be, you would have bridged that gap because it makes logical sense. And then you would have built around it or elsewhere. You still have everything from Rock and Roller Coaster to the animation courtyard that is sitting there pretty much as a big giant empty meet and greet area. And I know there's an office building back there, and people say it's got Legacy tied to it and blah, blah, blah. But suddenly Legacy cares more for an office building than a man, whatever. I just think if you're supposed to be a theme park, theme should have factored into all of this. And there are two scenarios, not that I'm advocating for them, that would have been far more compelling than what they're doing. One is to integrate Muppets and Monsters so that the Muppet Courtyard becomes an opening to Monsters Inc. land. Since it's already not being considered Monstropolis, they could have bridged the gap and blended the IP a little bit. I would have been okay with that. Or bridge the gap between Star Tours and Galaxy's Edge and complete that because it's right there. It's a stone's throw from the back of Star Tours. And you could have developed in front of it and developed behind it two separate themes. So, again, I just think you got a bunch of people that are really bad at doing their job. So it makes it hard for me to buy into any of this from that perspective. And then I walked in there with you, and I'm glad you got to see what you got to see. But I walked in there, and all I saw was a bunch of people taking selfies. I don't see why are we here if all we're doing is taking pictures of ourselves? You could do that at home.
Yeah, but that's what our society is now. It's selfies to show off where you're at and what you're doing.
Right.
So that's why they're doing it. It's not taking they can take pictures anywhere.
But you could do that at home.
Right, but they want to do that for Instagram clout and all of that. That's how, unfortunately, in a way, that's how our society works now. That's what people think is important.
But it's like the inverse of being a zoo animal. Like normally you go to the zoo and you take a picture of the cage. Now you're putting yourself in the cage and taking a picture of yourself in it.
Yeah, but if you also go to a zoo, it's like you see people taking selfies with elephants.
I first of all, I can't even imagine. That's absurd.
It's what they do. I'm telling you,
I've never seen that. I don't not believe you. Why would one do this?
Again, just people want to show off what they're doing. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. If you like, the last time I posted something on my Instagram, I don't even know when. I could care less what people know what I'm doing.
So I'm standing in the pre-show as everyone's loading in the Muppets, and I'm in the pre-show by myself, and I'm just taking pictures of the empty room. And I looked around for a second, and in a moment of weakness, I was like, maybe I should take a selfie. I don't have to ever take pictures of myself, but there was no one to take a picture of me in the place. So I pull out my phone. And I go to take the picture, and it's just like a horribly blurry. Like the background just looks like it's like all blurry, like the aperture's wide open, and I'm like at an angle, like it's a Hitchcock film and something really bad's about to happen. It was a horrible picture all the way, and I'm like, this is why we don't do this. Because number one, I'm not doing it again. There's no retake here. It was a one and done opportunity, and if it didn't work the first time, there's no reason to try again. But this is where most people would be like, let's keep going. 10, 12, 13, 14 more takes. I'm like, nope. You know what? If I would have got it the first time, I would have had it. I have this really crappy photo now of me with a blurred Muppet Vision. I don't need it. I'll probably just delete it at some point. I don't know what people do with these photos, but the pictures that I took of the empty theater when everyone left, and I was speaking to the cast members, and as I walked out, I was able to turn and I put it on Substack. But the fact that I was able to grab that empty photo, like that shot of the empty feet, like to me, that was the memory. So then I just look at this and I go, this is why we're so effed as a culture. I know I already cursed, but I'm not going to do it again. We're so effed as a culture because it's not about Jim Henson. It's not about the Muppets. It's about the people, like you said, showing up for the clout. And to me, that's why it's so easy for Disney to rip it out. And I think Disney is just tired of those people. I think Disney wants the families that want to come in, ride a bunch of fun rides, spend a bunch of money, and maybe never come back. As opposed to the people that are bringing their giant Kermits and crying.
But you don't think there's just going to be another generation of that? You think that?
No.
You think
with what? With what characters? None of these characters have the staying power of Mickey Mouse or Kermit the Frog.
Well, we don't see it, but other people do.
No. No, because with AI and everything else, what you're just gonna have like so many different flavors of the same thing, right? I mean, Yeah, sure. You have your SpongeBob, you have your Minions. Those are both two cute little yellow things. They're almost part of the same thing. It's derivative in a way. Like there's only so many times you can do it. The reason that Jim Henson was a pioneer is because nobody had used felt and fabric and foam to create puppets that way. Puppets were always these rigid things that weren't very inviting. Now, anybody that makes a puppet makes a Muppet. You know what I mean? Even if they're not. So, no, you're talking about people at a time where, and I think I don't think that there's anything left to be um, discovered. Everything's emulated now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a given. But I don't know.
AI is not helping.
We'll have to revisit this conversation in 5-10 years and see if there are new crazy people that.
Well, but look at Disney's version of the Muppets. It's not the Muppets, right? It's already, like I said, it's already a homogenized, desensitized version of the Muppets. They're not The Muppets were snarky.
Well, when the Muppets, at least when the Muppet Show was truly on television, it was designed, in my opinion, it was designed for children and adults. So families can watch it together. The parents get some jokes and they laugh and they enjoy it. The kids get the other jokes, they laugh and they enjoy it, and it's win-win. But there is there's no Muppet Show on TV anymore. It'd be great if it was.
Right, but so there's no foundation because there's no show like that, so there's no frame of reference for kids. So what Disney's using them as almost like Mickey, and I think Frank Oz summed it up best, and who was the voice of Miss Piggy and Jim's right-hand man. He said, Disney made them cute in a pejorative way. Not cute in a good way, cute in a bad way.
Yeah.
The Muppets should be making fun of Disney.
Yeah. Well,
the Muppets should be saying, "Oh my gosh," and I should really just overdub this Kermit video they put out, and I already thought about it, but the Muppets should just be saying, "Well, it's the economy's rough and we're moving down the street." Something like that. Like they can't dare do that because Disney's too afraid of the Trump administration. But if they said, "Oh my gosh, here comes the recession. We're shutting down shop and we're moving down Sunset."
Yeah.
To a hand-me-down and just called it for what it was, it'd be 10 times funnier. I couldn't think of the word recession. I apologize.
Is Muppets and Sesame Street, are they the same thing? Or are they separate entities?
They are currently separate entities, but there are Sesame Street Muppets, and then there are like classic Muppets.
I guess I'm asking because you're saying how you think that Disney chose to not have them say what you said, we're just moving down the street because of money, but with what happened with Sesame Street and Netflix and all kind of taking them in because PBS was getting funding cut.
But those are two separate entities.
Got it. I didn't know how connected they are or just completely not at all.
No. Sesame Workshop is Sesame Street. In fact, that was one of the reasons that was one of the things that killed Jim Henson. No joke. When Michael Eisner pursued the Muppets, Jim said Sesame Street is off limits, it's sacred, it's for the kids, and Eisner and the lawyers kept pushing.
I did not know that.
So
now, are they going to just reskin the Rock and Roller Coaster with just Muppets, basically?
Yeah, but it's not going to be Jim Henson. It's going to be whatever that guy is.
No, I get it, but it's going to. You think it's just going to be the same ride, just with Muppets and?
Yeah, it sounds like Bob the Frog. It doesn't sound like Kermit the Frog. It doesn't even sound like an attempt at a Kermit impression. It just sounds like a guy talking.
I heard the video when they had Kermit speak at some college graduation, which is kind of cool, but I'm like, this does not sound like Kermit.
And so part of it is the voice, and then the other part of it is the performers. And what Jim and the Muppeteers, if you want to call them Muppeteers, I don't know if that's really a fair term, but the Muppet performers were interwoven with each other. It would often take a handful of people to pull off one character, so they had to be synced together to perform together. And that gives you a certain sort of performance and a certain sort of comedic understanding of each other, and they worked in unison, and it was like music, and that's what Frank and Jim talked about all the time, was the world underneath the puppets. Disney doesn't care about that. Disney will have 5 different people do the voice of Kermit. And then on top of that, you got the Rivers of America debacle. They brought out some artwork for that. It looks horrible, but I can say that at least they're adding back water. And the only reason I say it looks horrible is because everything has changed from the previous artwork, and it will continue to change. And it just looks horrible that they cannot own the moment and say, listen, we made some mistakes. We're going to backpedal here. Instead, they put out this. It looks like something. It's a the first bit of artwork they showed of the Cars Land expansion that was taking over Rivers of America was very blurry, photorealistic-ish, almost AI-generated watercolor-ish artwork, right? This is a cartoonish map-esque. It looks like a placemat from Shoney's. Remember Shoney's?
No.
Okay, but it's like ground round picnic. You believe me, you've eaten at plenty of restaurants.
Where they give you the crayons and the plates.
Yeah, okay. So what I'm saying is it's a joke. But if you look, they added water, and then the Haunted Mansion is about the size of your pinky's thumbnail, like your pinky nail rather, your pinky's thumbnail. What a dumb comment. Your pinky nail. So they've completely thrown it out of whack. But they've added the water back in. So they're doing these very quiet, like incremental modifications instead of just saying, listen, we're going to preserve the river. But if you look at the scale, they're clearly fixing the problem. But what's funny to me is you don't even see the ride vehicles for this new cars. You don't see any of the nonsense because it's just like they keep changing their mind. So all of this stuff becomes very, very once you've been around long enough and really understand it, it just becomes very, very hard to buy into the hype. And I'm not going to make content just for clicks. So I saw the video of everybody singing the Rainbow Connection outside of Muppet Vision 3D. It made the hairs on my neck stand up. Because it's a bunch of people singing together, and it took 10 seconds to figure out what they were singing. Because they're not singing in unison. You know what I mean?
I haven't seen that.
So I'm like, I assumed it would be the Rainbow Connection, but I'm 10 seconds into this video and I'm not confident.
It would have been better if they sang Moving Right Along because they're going to the rock and roller coaster.
Or it's not easy being green because they're getting screwed. Okay, but they don't know because they don't think. Okay? Like, Nerd Funeral, we talked about this. All right. So whatever. So the kiss of death for the Walt Disney Company is making Josh DeMauro the next CEO. I digress. Now I want to shift gears to something else.
Oh wait, no. Before can I?
Nope. We're out of time.
I want to talk about cars.
We are.
You know what? I saw that the graphic. It kind of reminded me of the Cars ride in Disneyland, like in a way, because it almost seemed like they were paying homage to like national parks and stuff. Where the outside.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, like where like the outside of the Disneyland cars, or like their version of Test Track, but cars like you're in canyons and this and that. That kind of reminded me of that.
But it's not a Test Track style ride.
No, I'm just saying it kind of like.
Yeah, it's another Cars Land, but they would have been better off giving you a real Cars Land and putting it in Hollywood Studios.
Sure, I'm just saying that's what it reminded me of.
But I'm looking at it now, going, I think that it's going to be more like a landlocked Tom Sawyer Island with a river in front and a play space. I think they're going to have more of a physical space. Watch Disney go, in the spirit of our new health and fitness initiative, we've decided to preserve the essence of Tom Sawyer Island by announcing that in lieu of the Cars attraction experience, we will be preserving and honoring Walt's vision by allowing an active space to go along with our new corporate initiative. They're just going to do some nonsense like that, where they and you'll have your other ride behind it, and they're going to do something like that. I guarantee it. And they're going to be like, oh, so it's Tom Sawyer Island.
So basically, just the island and the boat is going away, and the island will be new cars, or
everything behind the island. I don't know when the last time you were on that river boat, but it's big back there. So
right.
the island and then all the water behind it. So imagine the sight line from like front where the parade route essentially is. That piece of river will now stay. It originally was all gone, and it was all going to be concrete and a ride.
So basically, they're now making the river into a lake.
No, because it's going to feed into the attraction with a waterfall. It's still going to be like a river that goes around like a fake rock formation.
Well, you think they'll make the island larger and more Cars stuff, is what you're saying?
The island is basically the piece of the island, from what I can tell, that you see from the parade route, that you see from the Haunted Mansion queue, will be the extent of where the water ends, and then everything from that point back where there was the river, basically almost everything out of sight, will now be filled in with
We're
land.
making a peninsula.
No, because there's a giant land expansion behind it.
But they'll make it like...
My favorite thing the other night was, where were we? We're walking around. Oh, no, it wasn't night. It was daytime. We're in the Lego store. And I'm walking out, and I say to the guy, do you have the gift with purchase? And he goes, no, we don't have it. It was a Simpsons gift with purchase. And I'm like, you don't? That's so weird. And Nick chimes in. He goes, well, the Simpsons aren't owned by Disney. And me and this guy look at him, and in unison we go, Disney owns the Simpsons. And Nick was like, oh, these nerds. And I was like, okay, so what's the real reason? And the guy didn't have one.
But Disney or Simpsons are still Fox, no?
Yeah, but Disney bought Fox for years ago.
But remember when we were in California, we went to Moe's and Universal? I guess that's...
Yes, but that doesn't matter. That predates that, and also there's Marvel characters in Universal. Listen, these guys all know about this stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're
this family tree of characters is crazy.
We're wasting valuable podcast time.
What?
It's a mess because at the end of the day, you have all these you have all these characters that Disney can't use now. And again, if you really cared about the future of your parks, you would have thematic integrity, right? So you would take these opportunities to do these land expansions in a way that actually work. But it's a weird trade-off. I still think, and I know that they put out a survey about the Simpsons characters doing meet and greets. Beyond Hollywood Studios, I do not want to see the Simpsons in the parks.
I will second that.
Keep it over at Universal and make money off of the deal. But it's a mishmash now. It's just gross.
There's no Simpsons in Disney, right?
Not yet. There's Simpsons. That's what I'm saying. There's Marvel characters in Orlando's theme park that can't be in Disney here, but can be in Disney there, and that's why they created the Guardians. Not created the Guardians, but that's why because the Guardians were super obscure. Nobody knew who they were, and that's why they leveraged that. I'll take this quick moment since I just brought up Guardians to do my public service announcement. James Gunn did not write the initial Guardians of the Galaxy script. It spent 10 years in development under a woman's auspice, a woman by the name of Nicole Perlman. It was plucked out of Marvel development. James Gunn did a pass on it so he could claim writing credit for it. She got producer credit, and that's why the other scripts suck. Because James Gunn is a creep and a horrible human being and a horrible writer. I just had to get that in there.
Wait. Oh, I'm thinking of Tim Gunn from the fashion show.
No, James Gunn. He's a pedophile. I'm just going to say it because it's a podcast. Oh. Yeah, I've seen... Listen, walks like a duck. I mean, you don't throw pedophile
James
parties.
Gunn's the fashion guy or the writer guy?
No, that's Tim Gunn. You had it right.
Okay, cool.
The James Gunn, he's got the brother.
Tim?
I'm sure he does. I don't know anything about this guy, Tim. No, but listen, I know people that hung out with James Gunn. Was fired by Disney for making comments based around pedophilia. And he was rehired because the whole cast came out. And I wasn't going to go down this road, but the whole cast will make a perfect segue into the Trump-Elon thing in a moment. But so James basically gets fired from Disney for a bunch of really inappropriate tweets about kids and horrible pedophilia-themed comments. James is friends with a band that are openly pedophiles, they like young girls. And James and his friends used to throw priest and pedophile parties. And you would choose to dress up as a child or dress up as a priest. Which really does, the name of the party no longer makes sense as I said that out loud to you, but that's not the point. I've seen the photos because so-and-so and so-and-so, who you know, at least one of, whose name starts with the letter B, would go to those parties and dress up as a child and then show me the photos and act like it was some cool thing that he was doing because he was hanging out with Hollywood celebrities.
Got it.
Look at you.
It took a while.
I know. I was going to do rhymes with.
No.
But then at that point, it's pretty much the whole name.
Yeah, you can't get away.
But imagine showing me photos of you dressed as a child at James Gunn priest and pedophile party as if you think it's okay.
And I wouldn't want to see him dressed as a child.
I don't want to see him.
Well,
Well, because again, walks like a duck, right? So now we've gone down a rabbit hole that I didn't want to get into, but all of that to say that's my problem with James Gunn, and that's my problem with this political climate we live in. And I'm not just talking about today; I'm talking about for pretty much as long as the social media has been thriving. Is everybody points fingers. People love to throw out the word pedophile. Elon's out there accusing Trump of being on the Epstein list, and at the end of the day, when it comes to power and money, ideology knows no boundaries, and all of these people are complicit, from Donald Trump to Bryan Singer to you name it. I mean, they're all complicit. To Bill Cosby, there's no party lines. Brock Pierce, Brett Ratner. These people, Harvey Weinstein. So behind closed doors, all of these people. I told a story walking around Disney the other day. I could never in a million years would have thought I would have told a story about this. But I'll tell you again, and I said this to you, and you go, I don't remember this, but you were sitting there. We're hanging out in my backyard in Reseda with Jackie the Joke Man, well before any of this Epstein stuff was ever public information. Years, probably 2 years. And Jackie tells us, because Jackie used to hang out with Epstein, about the stories of Trump and Epstein and how they used to basically have these guys go over and, do whatever they were going to do with Epstein's girls, right? And then talk about sleeping with them to Trump face to face in his office. But unbeknownst to them, Trump would have the wife on speakerphone, and Trump was doing all this so he could sleep with the wife. So they'd play these sick games with people. And at this level, this is what's entertaining to these people, right? Because they got time, they got money. They don't care about your plight. So when when Elon comes out and calls Trump up, because, you said to me with this whole blow up, do you think it's fake, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's fake, but I definitely think Elon playing that card is calculated. You know what I mean? Because that is such a go-to thing because it draws division. And my only point when I went down that James Gunn road is right, left, Hollywood, Washington, I don't care. They all got the same problems. Behind closed door, when it comes to money, everybody turns a blind eye. I'm not saying they're all pedophiles, but come on. You know what Lindsey Graham is up to on K Street over there? Lady G. No. So everybody knows these things who's paying attention. Oh, sorry, I did it again. I brought that up the other night to Nick, and we both got nauseous.
And it takes a lot for that to happen.
But dialing in on the Trump thing now, do you really think it's fake? Because I have no belief that these two could pull that off.
Well, we were talking about it, how ultimately they want to get J.D. Vance in power sooner than later,
right,
to fulfill Project 2025.
Right.
So if Musk comes out with all of this stuff, it just further gives, I guess, the Democrats meat and potatoes to to try to impeach him, hopefully get some Republicans in on it so it actually works. And then boom, Vance is in power, Project 25, the country's, whatever. But part of my thinking was, or, just different people's opinions and stuff. People were saying, well, are JD and Musk in on this together? Or are there handlers? Or, because all these rich, billionaire, powerful people, they're all in cahoots with one another. They go to these, like super secret meetings and parties or whatever you want to call it. I'm not talking like at Mar-a-Lago, but they go to these things to discuss all kinds of crazy stuff.
We're talking about Bohemian Grove and all these things.
Right. So, in a way, like they could, part of, like, again, my own conspiracy theory, forming my own, is just maybe Musk and Elon, this was all part of it. They were trying to figure out how to make a breakup seem so diabolical and crazy where people are like clutching their pearls. And this is that, where
That's insanity.
Trump then will get, theoretically impeached or something.
Yeah.
He's out of office. J.D. Vance is now in power. J.D. Vance then will probably pardon Trump of everything, so Trump can just disappear and his family can become richer and richer and richer. And that's
no. This sounds like something out of like a fan fiction novel. I think it's simple as no, but it's as well. But there's a conspiracy in there that is not a theory, right? And that is that Peter Thiel was backing J.D. Vance. I mean, this isn't conjecture, right?
Well, right.
And that's why when you use the term conspiracy theory, you almost wind up invalidating the truth, which is why people love using the term conspiracy theory, because it muddies the water. I don't think anybody can disprove the notion that J.D. Vance was backed by Peter Thiel and Project 2025 is the agenda.
Well, that's not the conspiracy
No,
theory.
but that's the conspiracy. That's the conspiracy. The conspiracy, by definition, is just a concerted effort. That's all a conspiracy is, okay? So take the word theory out of it, because you start to give people the ability to claim it to be nonsense.
Right. I mean, to even put it in layman's terms, just say that's the plan.
But that's what a conspiracy is.
Well,
I can't help it that people don't know English.
So that's why I'm saying put it in layman's. That's the plan. That's the end goal. That's the.
So then it doesn't even really matter beyond that. And I would almost venture to say that the Trump Elon falling out was inevitable. I think most people felt that way. I don't think it's staged, but I also don't think none of it doesn't matter, right? Because at the end of the day, Trump is being used anyway. He's being used by the Stephen Millers and the Steve Bannons. I didn't realize till now they're all named Steve.
Steves.
Steves
of America.
So that's the thing, right? Like, Trump is just the vessel for a larger thing. So if the idea was we put Vance in and we don't get Vance till Trump's out of office, or maybe get him sooner, either which way, we're putting him in the line. But I don't think this is some sort of, like, you see the memes of Trump and Elon sitting next to each other texting. No.
I don't think it's that,
no.
But yeah. I don't think it's as bad as they're trying to make it out to be. I don't know.
Now, I do think, if you want to talk conspiracy versus conspiracy theory, I very strongly believe that part of the Trump tariff strategy is to make his friends rich, because all you do is buy the dip knowing he's going to reverse course.
That's a given. And that would
you.
Well, but in a way, like, I think it's pretty fair to say we could say that is fact.
Let's use a different word. When you say given, I will say common sense.
I will say fact.
Some people will say strong opinion.
I will say.
We're 37 minutes in. Let's talk about Pampered Chef. Sitting next to you, you have a box. Well, you don't have to open it, Nick, because we're going to do a test later tonight. But is it heavy?
Oh, hang on. Let's see. I think it's from Italy, though. It says fragile. All right. Ooh.
Why are you shaking into the microphone?
So they can hear what's going on.
That's weird.
Royce is so
Put
mad
it down.
right now. It's awesome.
No, it's just because it's like a daycare. I can't get away from daycare. I'm online in the parks. I got daycare. You're here. It's daycare. I don't know what's in there, but I know it's from Pampered Chef. I know it's from Colleen Herman. Colleen has been supporting this podcast for quite a long time, been watching for a long time. You've met Colleen. Yoey and I have hung out with Colleen. So what we'll do later, we'll open that box later, and we'll do an unboxing on the live and test it out, Nick. But if you had to guess,
Yeah.
how many items do you think are in that box?
I mean, there's a
no.
I
want you to guess, so later we can check. I love how destructive you are. You're like Baby Huey, you know that? Like you drop things, you're like, it's fine. You're shaking things. Like, there could be glass in there. Now there's more pieces than there were 5 minutes ago.
Trust me, this is not getting more abuse than it did in the UPS truck or whoever.
That is a fair point.
Thank you. I would say there is...
the fact that he's actually thinking. Just pick up a number.
Different things shifting around. I'm like, okay, that feels.
You're actually counting them?
Because
we'll do a slower turn then.
As you rotate,
right. You can feel things. Okay, so let's go. Let's go.
Look.
I don't know.
This is why we need a camera.
This is hilarious to watch, though.
I would say
we didn't plan this bit, by the way.
I would say there is at least 8 things.
You know what? 8 was the number I was thinking. Seriously?
Great minds think alike.
You going to lock in 8?
I'll lock in 8.
Should I say 9 just to?
No, you're supposed to go under. You can't go over. So you got to say
Says who? This isn't the prices, right?
Okay.
Wait, is that how that? I can go. Oh, because $1, Bob. So then I'd have everything under 8.
Oh, you just say over under. That's
I want to say there's 10 items in there.
But you might know. You might have been.
I don't know. But I'm counting packing balloons as items.
That does not count.
All right. Anyway, That's your ad, Colleen. Colleen Herman, Pampered Chef. It's pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. But what we'll do is, Nick's been helping me out. We'll do a little test at the counter. We'll unbox. I don't know how much of a kitchen live we'll do. You know, she sent me this stuff to make donut holes. She sent me this stuff to make bread. And then she sent me a soup mix. It was like a tomato bisque. And it was a beer bread. And I took the tomato bisque and I mixed it with the beer bread and made like it was almost like a sun-dried tomato bread.
You made the bread.
I mixed them. Yeah, she gave me the bread mix and she gave me the bisque mix, and I said, hold up. And I took a little bit of the bisque and I put it in with the bread mix and I made the bread. I did it on the live.
Oh, so it's like, okay, sorry. I thought you... I thought you were putting...
We really do need a camera. This was a complete misfire to not have the camera.
I thought you were putting the bread mix in the soup. I'm like, I don't know about that.
Well, technically I did.
Well, you did yeah, right. You were making it more like, okay. Never mind. Carry on. Pampered Chef, we were very excited to see what's in this box. I cannot wait to see all 8 items once we reveal later tonight, everybody. Please.
All right, so I'm going to use the... Look at these unplanned transitions. You ready for this? Speaking of transition.
Oh, no.
And Price is Right. So I show you this clip the other day of Dylan Mulvaney on The Price is Right when Dylan Mulvaney was still Dylan. If that makes sense. I guess Dylan Mulvaney is still Dylan. But anyway, I'm like, look at this theater kid. I'm like, look at this theater kid. I don't care about the transgender. I don't, right? This is somebody who's got an insatiable desire for attention, and it's everything that's wrong with our culture. Okay, fine. And I know Nick doesn't agree with me, but I said I don't even think, and even if Dylan Mulvaney is sincerely a transgender individual, I just look at when I see somebody crossing the line in the pursuit of content, you invalidate any real argument you have for your plight, no matter what your plight may be. So, making a lateral move, trying to make these topics, even though they're on my whiteboard in a completely different order, trying to make it flow, you now have this Lily Tino. I didn't even know her name, okay? And she's in the bathrooms. She's the kind of content creator that'll go like sit at a restaurant and wait to be like misgendered to make the video for the clickbait. And I'm like, okay, maybe you're sincerely misgendered. That's fine. Okay, fine. But you can tell when someone's making content for the sake of content. Kind of like when people go out and give homeless people money on the street, and you can see there's money in the banana, but the homeless people don't, and they choose the banana. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
And I'm like, why don't you just give homeless people money? Why are you making videos? Like, again, it's the pursuit of clout, right? It's that conversation again. Where is the line? And when they start to get blurred, it's really hard to have a proper understanding of all things. But here's where the line is. Absolutely, unequivocally. I don't care who you are. I don't care how you identify. I don't care what you're trying to accomplish. You don't shoot content in the bathroom, period. End of story.
A public bathroom.
Yeah, well, I don't care what you're doing at home. You do whatever the hell you want in your house.
Well, you should clarify that, though.
Well, I told you earlier to take those photos at home.
What are you talking about?
When I was telling people not to take selfies in the theme park, do those at home. You're already in the bathroom. Stay there. Oh. Everyone's in front of the Fakakta mirror taking selfies. Stay there.
Yes.
But to make content in a Disney, first of all, I'm referring to the fact that she was making content in the Disney bathrooms, ranking bathrooms. The first problem I have is don't tell everybody where the good bathrooms are, number one. All right? Stop giving away all the good secrets, number one. Number two, don't film in the bathroom. Do that video from the outside if you're going to do it. So then I look at that, Nick, and I go, when I look at your history as a content creator and see that you're generally trying to rage bait, I look at this and I go, this is for all the wrong reasons. First of all, you shouldn't be shooting in the bathroom. I said this, but let's just say that somehow shooting in the bathroom was okay because there was nobody behind you in the picture, right? Let's just say it was an empty bathroom, okay? You're crossing lines here. Okay, I don't want to see. And number one, I just don't want to see bathroom content. Okay, but you're in the pursuit of rage, making content at the expense of others, even if it's just other people's plight. Doesn't have to be the other person in the bathroom. It could be somebody out there who's sincerely struggling with being a transgender individual, and you're out here leveraging it for clicks in a bathroom, trying to be all cute about what bathroom's the best bathroom because you know you can get away with it because nobody's going to say anything to you. Okay? But there's somebody else out there who isn't cutifying their plight, okay, in the pursuit of clout. Who actually is, so you're invalidating that and then giving people who oppose that plight ammunition. This is why content creation should be illegal everywhere. I don't want you making videos in the airport. I don't want you making videos in a theme park. I don't want you make your videos at home. Everybody stay in the bathroom at home. The world will be a better place. Do you disagree with what I'm saying though about invalidating the plight of others by using your in the case of something like this, like using your plight as a shiny object?
It's time to spice up your kitchen with Pampered Chef. Pampered Chef has all the goodies from spatulas, mandolins, and amazing pots and pans, not to mention knives. Plus, don't miss out on small appliances like the deluxe air fryer and coffee maker. Spice up your kitchen today. Go to pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. And with no estate plan, you could be leaving those you love the most with high taxes, probate fees, and an incomplete or divided estate and legal fights and fees. If you live in Florida, contact RK Law for a free consultation to discuss the options you have and the tools available to protect your home, savings, and estate for those you love the most. To get started, send an email to russell@rklawpro.com or call 786-566-2456 to set up your consultation today. That's russell@rklawpro.com. And if you're in the market for a 3D printer, visit flashforge.com. With printers starting at under $300, you can begin your 3D adventures today. Visit flashforge.com. And while you're online, head over to Etsy and the Theme Park Factory. The Theme Park Factory on Etsy is a great way to support this channel. Pick up a Joe Coconut and bring a little bit of the Theme Park Factory to your home.
I agree as far as the bathroom thing goes.
This was supposed to be a commercial break. I forgot to do the rest of the ads. Go on.
Speaking of bathroom, I agree. Like, obviously, yes, doing things in a public bathroom or a gym locker room, etc., off limits, or it should be off limits. As far as anyone's gender identity, it doesn't matter. To me, that's a moot point in this.
It's got nothing to do with the conversation. It just happens to be the individuals, what they're leveraging.
But again, it's a moot point. It really didn't need to come up at all.
But but that's the whole crux of the video.
Well, I haven't seen the video.
Well, no, excuse me. Let me correct myself. That's not the crux of the video. That's the crux of the content creator's
Again, I
profile.
haven't never seen any of their content, so I can't comment on it.
Millions of people have.
Wow, I'm one of the oddballs.
You're one of the lucky ones, not oddballs. You're one of the blessed.
Regardless, I really don't care what people choose to do as far as how, again, like you said, going into this, we have very different views on gender identity and that topic. So I really don't have anything to add with that.
But it's not about the gender identity. It's about the pursuit of content where you're pushing the line where it doesn't need to be pushed. And to the point that there's somebody else out.
What saying is being pushed? The bathroom, doing this in the bathroom, or
I'm saying
trying to get people to misgender you?
Well, put the misgendering thing aside because that's generally what this particular creator likes to do. Like, that's the videos that keep popping up is like, I go to the restaurant and wait for you to call me sir and then say send the food. And she made one of these Disney videos like that too. Okay, fine. If we're just honing in on the bathroom concept, the bottom line is you're leveraging the fact that you know that there's already an issue here. Not everybody agree. Look, everybody's entitled to have a human experience. Okay? Point blank, period. But the same way that you don't want somebody imposing your ideology, and I'm not saying this to you, but the same way people don't want people imposing their ideologies on them, don't impose your hate and fear on others, right? So if somebody says, I don't like transgender people because I don't like it and I think it's a problem, well, keep it to yourself. Like Yoey will go around Disney World on Gay Day with a button saying celebrating straight, and I'm like, I hope somebody punches you in the face because you're asking for it. Like, just let people live. You don't have to be vocal in your opposition. It's like last night I'm being sarcastic. People, you're being really too sarcastic. I'm leaving. You don't have to tell me. Just leave. So let people live. But when you start to blur the line between this hot button issue and your pursuit of content, and then doing it in a taboo environment, it's not, there's no conversation about whether you know or don't know what you're doing. You're doing all of that purposely because you know it's going to elicit a response. You know you're pushing the line, and the bathroom is off limits. So again, now you're invalidating any other argument anybody chooses to have because you're breaking a social code. Nobody wants to be in your bathroom content. Nothing else matters in the conversation. Don't shoot content in the bathroom. But you're giving other people who may identify with your plight otherwise a bad name by leveraging your plight for clicks. And I find that to be really a blurry, murky area.
But that's any group you want, any...
Correct.
You know,
it's every group.
It could be people that like Ford Mustangs.
I agree. You're dead on. So, you're dead on.
I mean, I think that might be more of the bigger...
You're dead on, but that's just the issue that people are so... People are obsessed with other people's sexuality.
Unfortunately, correct. Unfortunately, gender identity and all of that is such an easy target for people to attack and exploit and be afraid of and basically just be ignorant about because they don't or are not willing to take the time to even give an ounce of sympathy, empathy, or even just understanding, or actually just basically not giving a fuck.
But that's the whole point, is that you're putting this individual is putting too many other things in front of that issue and it's murkying the waters.
But then it boils down to, who cares, Royce? Why are you bringing it up?
I'm bringing it up because you shouldn't be creating content in the bathroom. That's the only issue I care about.
The first comment of saying,
but now you're making me look at everything else is what I'm saying. I wouldn't give a shit what you're doing, but because you're being exploitative, now you're having a whole lot of people chime in on an issue that they shouldn't even be chiming in on.
But also that's human nature.
I agree. But this is the problem with content creation.
I mean, you're telling me you've never done stuff to grab...
I've never made content in a bathroom.
I'm not asking about bathroom, but I'm
only talking about the bathroom.
But you're saying content creators make content to get attention and to get clicks. You're telling me...
Have you seen the video of the guy that goes into the restaurant with the raw steak and swaps it out for the cooked steak?
No.
This is the line. I've never broken a social code in the pursuit of content.
But regardless, they are trying to do things to make content and get clicks, which is literally what you do.
No, but that's not what I do. I don't make clickbait. That's not the same thing.
But you are creating things to get clicks.
No, I'm not. You're wrong. If I was creating things to make clicks, my videos would be getting clicks. My videos barely get views, and I have 600. What I'm saying is, the same way that the person runs up to Alec Baldwin in the street and attacks him for his Trump impression on SNL, he's with his wife and kids. I don't like Alec Baldwin. I just don't like him. Okay, but I can't excuse it's not a stage. It's a real life moment. There's a time and a place.
Well, right, but there's two things in that example, at least, that is when you're at that level, you're always on stage. You're always going to be a target.
I disagree.
People. It is, because people have no
pre-iPhone. You couldn't say that though.
What?
Pre-iPhone, you couldn't say that.
No, I mean, there was still paparazzi with regular cameras and celebrities still getting swarmed by people, because at that time we had regular cameras disposable.
I hear you, but it's still not the same.
If you're at that level, you are always on stage. People are always going to want to have an interaction with you, good, bad, or ugly. And
that's the clout.
And whether you want it or not. And the public does not have the ability, or most of the public does not really have the ability to understand this is someone else's time. I should leave them alone, or just make a simple like, "Hey, Baldwin, your Trump blows. Fuck you." Right,
and then just walk away.
Right.
Not harass me with a camera in pursuit of your TikTok video.
Right, or to elicit some sort of reaction. Yes, does Alec punch you? Then you can sue them for money. Yeah, right. But again, even still, though, that was still happening when you had people running around.
But you're missing the point. Just because something you love this excuse. I notice whenever I love these conversations. No, but you always like to
excuses on everything too.
No, you like to defer to because but this is what most people do, because it's normal. Because it's accepted, because it's status quo, it's forgivable. And I think if you really want to break through this murk that we're in as a culture, then you really have to get back to the fact that nobody's going to agree on everything. And like at a certain
And
point,
you're not, because you're telling me my views are an excuse.
well, that's called irony. But like I'm saying
it's called being a hypocrite.
I'm saying, well, everybody's a hypocrite in this culture, and just own it though.
Yeah,
like these people.
Don't tell me my views are an excuse.
Well, I'm not saying it to you. I'm saying it to the population. I'm using a Victorian.
Back.
I don't care. Really don't care.
I know.
What I'm
the problem.
Well, no, because it's like you're not even listening to what I'm saying. You're on your phone half the podcast.
My phone's on the desk.
What I'm trying to say is, as a culture, because everybody's pursuing clout, nobody thinks about their surroundings. So it doesn't matter if it's Alec Baldwin. You're sitting here making a case that Alec Baldwin has that exposure because he's Alec Baldwin. That doesn't mean his kids are entitled to it. You know, and
no, of course not. But
his kids were right there.
Right. So if you're Alec Baldwin, or let's pretend I am now Alec Baldwin, I know if I'm on the street, whomever I am
Your
with,
wife is annoying.
Yeah, I would divorce you if I was him. But anyways.
Get stuck in the role play. I saw it in your head.
If I was Alec Baldwin, I would like to think, and again, I've never had this experience, but I would like to think I would understand that whomever I am with in public, whether it's in a restaurant, in a car, walking down the street, at an amusement park, that though whomever I am with will be getting, in a way, the same sort of, not harassment, but will experience the same nonsense that I'd experienced because they are with me.
But that's accepting the fact that people are animals. But that's accepting people are animals. Back in the day when it just used to be the paparazzi, to bring it back to that, it was limited to what could be published. Now everybody with an iPhone can go live, right? So now you've got millions of people now pursuing this when it might have been dozens. So what you're saying is, it's understandable. Yeah, you got to have your guard on. It's the price of doing business and all these things, but it doesn't excuse it. And at a certain point, it becomes incumbent upon the individual to have some self-awareness and accountability for their actions, meaning the person with the phone, and to decide that everything is not content. Yeah, I absolutely post a video hoping it gets views. But I don't post a video to be deceptive to get views. And I don't go rage bait to get views because I want, you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I'm not. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So, but that's a quality conversation.
But regardless, people are going to do that, period. Especially in this time, this day and age, etc. It's going to happen,
so,
no matter what.
All of these people, whether it's going into a bathroom to create that's rage baiting. You know that you're not supposed to be in that bathroom. And all I'm saying is any genuine part of a larger conversation becomes invalidated because you're giving people something else to bitch about, and you just know what you're doing. I'm not going to act like you're unintelligent walking in there. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to shoot in the bathroom.
Right. Yeah.
You know, the same way, like you said, you want to go heckle Alec Baldwin, heckle him and move on. But to get up in his face with the camera because you're trying to get him to punch you, that's where I'm like, that's where I defend Alec Baldwin. And I don't want to be in the business of defending Alec Baldwin. I think he's a scumbag.
No, I understand exactly what you're saying with that.
But there's a line.
But again, people don't know any better.
But that's the problem. So this is the culture we're living in. And now what we have, just to bring it back to the Trump and Elon thing, right? Now we have the richest man in the world and one of the most powerful men in the world arguing on social media like two teenagers. Okay, but the implications are vast, you know, and then you get those Steve Bannons crowbarring in from the side saying deport immediately. He's not talking to Trump. He's talking to everybody in the White House around him. He's talking to Steve Miller. You know what I mean? So this whole sort of attention culture is what will be the death of humanity. Because people don't know where the line is. And that's all I was saying is I don't care if it's walking into a bathroom, walking up to Alec Baldwin, or any of these things, walking into a restaurant. That was the other video, by the way. It's appalling. So somebody goes into a restaurant with a raw steak and they're hiding it in a bag under their feet, orders a steak, swaps it, and sends back the raw steak. And is filming the whole thing. It's like, okay, first, there's so many problems with that. But there's a time and a place. People are running a business. This is not your soundstage. It is a restaurant. It's where people are running a business. It should be illegal to film content in a restaurant.
Like without permission.
Yeah, well, that's anything. I mean, if you were filming a TV show, you would need permission. So why can't we just widen these laws? And then you need to be held to the same accountability when you're creating content as anyone who's producing content for television or film. Like, just extend the FCC guidelines and any other guidelines. I don't know where they're coming from, but extend all the same considerations that people on TV have to. You can't go shoot in a restaurant without getting permission and then putting up an area release notice.
Yep.
And if you were doing a documentary on some plight, let's just say war veterans, right? And whatever, and you were out there, stealing footage and breaking into places, you'd be invalidating everything you're trying to do by doing it the wrong way. You know what I mean? Like, you have to play by the rules to change the rules. If you want to go, you still got to do it. You can't go wiretapping people. Well, I guess you can. Now, there's something I may be a hypocrite. I don't know.
If you want to call like investigative reporting in a way where they do some.
But there's still codes of ethics, right?
I guess. I really don't know. Like, I never really thought of it too much, but like, there's obviously like hidden camera things and stuff like that where they will release it.
But now anybody with a cell phone is left to figure out where that line is for their own, and they're not thinking like a TV producer. They're not thinking like a documentarian.
Well, most people don't.
But that's all I'm getting at. And that's the point of no matter who you are and what you're doing, when you start through that lens, no pun intended, you invalidate anything that comes after it because you're distracting from what's important, and you know better. And that's like, there was a guy that went into Disney World in a MAGA hat.
Yeah, I think I've seen that.
It's the same concept. He's just going in there to rage bait.
Yeah.
There's no difference between her going into the bathroom and him doing that in the MAGA hat. It's the same exact
I get it.
video.
I mean, people just want the attention. They want the clicks.
Oh my God, get a shrink. You know what I mean? Get a shrink.
The mental health issue in this country is, or lack thereof, I should say, is a problem.
And it's everywhere. And that's the other issue, is if you start to talk about it in any one category, then people start, you know what I mean? So you have to be like very broad with that. And I think the safe way to characterize that is that pursuit of clout, those pursuit of clicks, that pursuit of attention is a mental health crisis. The I culture is a mental health crisis.
Well, the culture has since changed. It's just we have yet to adapt or figure out how to make it work. Is that, and part of it is mental health, and also part of it is just figuring out how to make it work. I have no answers. That's just as simple as a statement as I can make about it.
So, like, part of the thing I like sitting here doing this, like, I'm not looking to agree. Like, I in this world, you need friction to create motion, but you don't have to. You don't have to refuse to understand. You can disagree. You can not like people's thing. You can be like, I don't like what you're up to. You're dressing in drag. You're whatever. You're a polygamist. You're a drunk. We were talking about Jimmy Fallon the other day. I'm throwing him under the bus now. Like, whatever you're into. I'm not going to judge you for that. Just don't impose it on me. You know what I mean? If you're a drunk, leave me out of it. Don't bring me into whatever destructive thing is attached. And by the way, Nick, I don't even know how much. I don't even think you drink much.
Nick,
I'm not calling Nick a drunk.
Nick is not a drunk, everybody.
I'm saying if like whatever the friggin' issue is, I don't care what it is. People are obsessed with sexuality. So that becomes a really problematic thing to talk about because most people are just afraid of sex, which is wild. Okay. And that's why there's so many people in leadership positions doing crazy things behind closed doors because it's too taboo to talk about in the open. If we actually just talked about all that stuff out in the open, there'd be a lot less drama and a lot less nonsense. But okay, fine.
But that also boils down to what we were talking about last night about religion and stuff, which we're not going to go into today. But that also,
but all of these things are like just compartments.
Well, yeah, and those are all different, all taboo subjects.
Yeah, but like
religion, it's all.
I don't care what people choose to prey on. I don't care what you choose to identify as. It's not my problem. It only becomes my problem when you make it my problem. If you want to be super religious, go be super religious, but don't impose it on me.
Right. But also then, if you were to say that, if you want to use this, I forget their name, the bathroom person making the videos in there. If you want to use,
I wish I could be you
with your thing. Don't make it my problem. Really, it wasn't. You're the like.
It is, because you're exposing people in the bathroom in a video. It's got nothing to do with your plight. You're just allowing people to confuse it.
Look, I didn't see the video, but what I'm saying is, regardless of the video, you are choosing to make it a problem or an issue to discuss, which is fine. That's why we're here to talk about things. Whereas, and I guess that might be a bad example.
But there's a responsibility. No, but stay with that. You're right, though. There's a responsibility that comes with that.
But what I'm saying, though, is you as a, I guess, consumer have the choice to make an issue out of it, or yes or no. Because in a way, if you were to turn the blind eye and ignore it, and everyone else were to ignore it, it would go away.
It won't, because this person keeps making content like that.
Right, and if everyone continues to ignore it and not make an issue out of it, it goes away.
If that was the case, Twitter wouldn't be successful.
But again, that to me, and that in a way is like, I don't care what you do. I mean, yeah, within reason, I don't care what you do, and if I don't pay attention to it, it's not going to bother me. It's not going to be pushed into my face. It's not, it's not in front of my face, so it's a non-issue to me.
But check this out. What if I support what you do? What if I support the transgender community? I don't care. Like, in other words, I'm not transgender. I have no issue with what you do. I'm a passive ally, let's say, right? I support you. And then I look at somebody like this and I go, you're not helping the movement. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. You're too selfish in the pursuit of your own attention to think about everybody else, to think about the teenager that killed themselves because they're bullied at school because they're having an identity crisis. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying.
I agree with that, though.
Well, but it is. It's exploitative. It's the same way I said to you, I can't stand when people use their kids in content.
It has to, yeah. Well, that's a whole.
They're all different, right? Yeah. It's all content creation. That's the theme.
Yeah.
And so where's the line? Like, if I'm walking through the park and I see a medical emergency, I turn the camera complete opposite direction. There's no reason to be showing that.
Oh, sure. Dude, trust me. When I was working, I can't tell you how many times I would yell at people to back up and they want to put the camera in,
Because what? Because they're going to get views?
I don't know. I really don't know, because who's people on the street are videotaping something. Who are they videotaping it for? To show their friends? I mean, really, that's it. They're not videotaping. I mean, maybe they think, I'll get the next viral video or whatever that stupid,
that's it.
What was that one? The one website where the homeless people fight on the street.
Bum fights.
No, not that. But there was another name for it. Crap. It'll come to me.
I remember rotten.com.
Something but they want to submit it to one of those BS things. But anyway, again, it's just like.
Oh, you're talking about World Star.
Yeah. People I'm gonna get the next World Star video out of it. Yeah. Exactly.
No, but that's exactly it. So now everyone's a newsman, right? Let me just hold for the shot.
But yeah, it's just again, I don't know. You see a car wreck or something dumb that's not even a big deal, and people are like, "I'm going to videotape this." Why?
Now
the show your mom, your kids. Look at this. Look what I saw today. Look at this crazy thing. So what?
In the spirit of exposing the hypocrisy, the flip side is I see the video of the social media influencer who fell out of the She fell out of the parasail. Did you see that? She had a panic attack and she disconnected her harness and she fell to her death.
No.
And I watched the video 3 times. You don't see her falling to her death. You just see the preamble.
Right.
But they put it up on TMZ. And I'm watching it. So obviously that's part of the problem, to your point about consuming it, if everybody ignored it.
Yeah, I mean every time you see here's a so-and-so body cam footage of this police shooting, and of course they literally lead up to it, they blur, and then you hear the gunshots over the blur. It's crazy. It just, again, it's all sensationalized, and we as a people, as a whatever, have in a way become accustomed and okay with it, and that is why it is happening.
That's what I love about the news media. They'll be like, folks, we're going to play some. We're just warning you. This is some really disturbing footage, and it may bother you. So we're just warning you. We're going to slow it down. We're going to loop it. We're going to play it 3 or 4 times in a row, and then we're going to bring on a panel to discuss it further, and we'll put up individual screenshots. But it's very, very disturbing footage. You've been warned. That's our culture. And it's sort of like, okay, well, how about just don't show it at all if it's really that disturbing? Or just be honest about it. Be like, this is gruesome, but you love it. You know what I mean? What the hell did they... There was something this morning she said in an interview. Oh, it was like Dana Bash, and she said to some some politician about his constituents, like, but what about all the great people in your state? And I said to Nick, I was like, if I was a politician, I'd be like, not everybody in my state's great. I'm not going to sit here and lie and act like So it's just sort of like we live in this curated media landscape. So I just find it. I mean, you want to talk about hypocrisy? That's what it is. Don't sit here and put, somebody's untimely demise or like cover a story about Gene Hackman and act like you're obligated to cover it. Oh, absolutely horrible. We shouldn't be covering it, but here we go for the next 45 minutes. Let's just be honest about it. Why don't we just own the fact that we're all sensationalized by others' demise, that we're sensationalized by other people suffering?
I don't think I don't think there's much of a debate to that. I think most people will acknowledge and admit to that. I really do.
But I mean, on Twitter, yes, not on cable news.
They won't say, the news people won't say it, but all the people consuming it, I think, will say it. I mean, most people understand what they're watching, and they understand why they like it, because it's jaw dropping, pearl clutching, all these things.
And then they love to be outraged about it too, and then go in the comments, and it's a whole other culture. Yeah. All right, look, I also need to talk about Russell at RK Law Pro, rklawpro.com. Russell, rklawpro.com. If you were in the Florida area, I used to read all of these off a thing, but I've been doing it so many times, it just seems more fun to do it this way. So if you are in the Florida area, whether we're talking about estate planning, legal advice, whatever you need to do, Nick, you can contact Russell at rklawpro.com and set up your free consultation today. Okay, so if you're in the Florida area, go contact Russell. We talked about Colleen at Pampered Chef, of course. And my friends at FlashForge, if you are looking to get a 3D printer, FlashForge has all of the options for you, from starter printers at about $300 and all the way up to multicolor printers. I believe the newest model is out now. One of those should be arriving imminently. And then finally, if you want to support this podcast, the Theme Park Factory on Etsy, wherever you shop, but that doesn't make any sense because you'd have to go to Etsy. So the Theme Park Factory on Etsy, but whatever you're looking for, it's there. So we got like the zipper pulls that I 3D printed. We got 3D printed keychains and other keychains that I sourced, some
Sippy
Disney
cups.
characters.
Your 3D sippy cups.
They're little tumblers, the tchotchkes, all sorts of stuff, And when the color printer comes, I want to start 3D printing color keychains as opposed to buying them.
Oh.
So that's fun. So there's all the different ways you can support our sponsors. Nick, thank you very much.
Thank you.
He likes to get me worked up when we do these things. I like to return the favor, but quite frankly, it's more entertaining. What I got to say one last thing here. I just want to say a little prayer.
Mecca lecca high.
For Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
Mecca hiney ho.
I'm praying for your reconciliation. I'm praying that you can bond this relationship together. Love is tough. And it's Pride Month, Nick. So for these two...
Don't involve those two schmucks.
That's what Bill Maher did last night. By the way, I think Bill Maher's gay. I'm going to end it on that. I think Bill Maher... He was interviewing... He did a really good interview with Barry Diller. Barry Diller started the Fox network.
Oh.
So Barry Diller actually discovered Michael Eisner and all this. So Barry Diller's been around forever. Barry Diller did IAC. He's just been a pioneer. And Barry Diller put a memoir out. And Bill had him on, and Barry was talking about, because Barry's married to Diane von Furstenberg, the fashion designer, but Barry's gay. They have marriage, they have kids, but I think they're both gay. And anyway, so Bill had him on, and then Bill was very fixated on that element of the book, and then Bill said, he said he related, and then Barry looked at him like, Bill, is there something you want to tell us all?
He said that?
Yeah. And then Bill got super uncomfortable. And then last night, Bill went to say election during the monologue, and he said erection, and he started blushing, and I'm like, oh, Bill.
Right. What was the...
You're looking for it.
Oh, that also reminds me of during the insurrection. I'm sorry, wasn't an insurrection, but when the news people tried to call, and the erection on January 6th. You're like, ugh.
But hey, I mean, whatever. I just think it was just I never thought of it before, and now I'm looking at Bill Maher differently.
He's never been married.
No. But Barry Diller called him out on it. I thought it was really hilarious.
He publicly stated he doesn't believe in marriage
or religion,
and now it would ruin everything for him.
Bill Maher's an interesting guy. You know, he got canceled. I'm going to end this, but he got canceled for his comments that he made about the hijackers when he had the politically incorrect show on ABC. The kind of stuff that is said today, I mean, I don't even know what's left. I mean, he could say that today all day long. He wouldn't get fired. And like, you just look at that now and you're like, oh my God. I mean, look at what it takes now to get fired. I mean, people are out there saying stuff. The mouthpiece, like, look at the stuff Stephen A. Smith says. He's a mouthpiece for Disney. And he can say whatever the heck he wants. He's chiming in on it's just like it's a different world.
I mean, we have a felon as a president. You want to talk about not being able to get fired?
Well, yeah.
Without going down that road, I mean.
Well, no, I was more thinking of his mental facilities because, like, when he talks, I'm like, do you even know what you're saying? You know, and I've said this before. I told this to Yoey, actually. I was like, go watch that interview of Trump in his 30s. I don't know if you ever watched it. It was like his first interview on the scene. There was a sharp man in there with some decent ideas. Whether he would have executed on them or whether he was always going to be that corrupt, I don't know. But this guy looks like he's got early stage dementia. And nobody liked that when they said it about Biden. I didn't like it when they said it about Biden. But sometimes I don't know what the hell is coming out of Trump's mouth. And I'm not sure he does either. And we're not even a year into it. So, all right. Not that the Democrats are going to have anything better. Mark my word, because they never do. We'll see. I maintain Mark Cuban. Pair Mark Cuban up with somebody. I don't care who. Give me like two well-known businessmen that are moderate. Who's another good business person? Like a Jamie Dimon?
Who's that?
What's that? Morgan Chase? JP Morgan? You know, give me like two business. I don't want celebrities. And again, I'll bring up Stephen A. Smith because he keeps going, oh, I don't want to run for president. But then he's like, but, you know, people keep asking me. And I'm like, well, people need to stop asking you. Nobody wants Stephen A. Smith to be president. And then the problem is because he's black, the Democrats are like, well, he's worth a look. And I'm like, no, he's a sportscaster. The same way that I don't want George Clooney, The Rock, John Voight, or any actor to be president. You know what I mean? Bring me in some businessmen. Bring me in some people that can create some real efficiencies. I don't think Elon really cared about efficiencies. I think you could agree on that. I think Elon was in there to be self-serving. But if you bring in some real businessmen, like to run this country right, I'm not saying they won't line their pockets and get rich, but we could create some real efficiencies. And the one thing everybody wants is more efficiency in their government and to create savings. This country is, I don't even know what the debt is. Do you know what the debt is? Is it $3.5 trillion? I don't even know.
Million, trillion.
Can you look it up really quick?
Well, national debt.
What's the current national debt? I have no idea. I said 3.5 trillion. I wonder what it really is.
Current national.
It's probably an active ticker. Just going.
Price is right. This one.
Yes, yeah. Let's do it. That's a great way to end it. Bring it full circle.
Well, I know the answer, so I need you to guess.
Well, that's generally how the Price is Right works.
So I'm Drew Carey in this equation.
Right. So,
it is in the trillions. I'll give you that.
I know.
It's in the tens of trillions.
3.5 seems low.
It's in tens of trillions.
I'm going to say 35 trillion. I'm just gonna slide that decimal over, Nick. Little slide, slippity slide to the left.
I will say you did not go over.
$40 trillion.
That would be over.
37 trillion.
This is like that one. Did you ever see the clock game?
I've already lost.
Well, higher, lower, higher, lower.
No, the yodel climber?
No, the clock game where it's a countdown.
No, I like.
And they have to guess the price. So if it's like a television, say 500, Drew will say higher. They say 600, higher, 700.
Oh
lower.
yeah.
And then that's my anyway.
I like the backpack yodeler.
Cliffhanger.
Is that what it's called?
Yes, it is. Best game in the world.
Plinko's the best game in the world.
Plinko's good, but that's just.
Do you know they sell a giant?
Because it's pure cash. That's why people get excited because you can win a lot of money.
No, I just like the sound. I love that. They sell a giant Plinko now at Costco.
Yeah, well, you should stick with your 35 trillion.
I did. I locked in 35.
And you're only 1.21 trillion over.
$36.21 trillion is the current national debt.
Yeah, that's what it says.
I nailed it.
That's what it says.
That's crazy.
I could. Would you like a detailed breakdown?
It's not that I want a detailed breakdown. Can you tell me what it was like 10 years ago? Can you give me anything? Like how much it's gone up?
Hang on. When do you want it from?
You tell me.
Oh wait,
Just hit me with data.
I think I had a chart. Hang on.
Hit me with some live data.
Hit me with your best shot. So although that number, what's going on here? Man,
This is how you know it's not prepped.
Internet's a weird world, man.
I cannot wait to find out what just popped up on your screen because your eyes went wide.
No. So in 2023, we were at roughly 31.3 trillion.
Okay.
The beginning of 24 was like 34.25 trillion, and now we are up over 2 trillion in less than a year, or a little over a year.
When were we below 30 trillion? Do you know?
I'm trying to find a larger graph here.
Yeah.
Whoa. So, whoa.
No, I don't know if that's data or more the internet's weird stuff. Maybe a little bit both.
So, in
Nick, we're live. Nick, we're live.
No, we're not.
What?
You can edit this out.
Nick, we're live to tape.
In 2018, we were at about 20.5 trillion.
Okay, wait. Right there. Just stop right there. So 2018 is 6 years ago? Is it 7 years ago?
7.
And what was that number? How many trillion?
It looks like 20.5.
So you're telling me we've almost doubled the national debt in less than a decade?
Not doubled, but we did. It didn't do so good. Actually, here's a longer chart.
I like that you're nickel and diming the national debt.
So this is like 10-year blocks, so I can't really break it down well.
But
let's say like the beginning of let's just say January 1, 2000. It looks like we were a little over 5 trillion. January 1, 2010, we went to about 12.5 trillion. So in that 10 years, we went up like 7.5 trillion. All right. So the 2010s, we went from 12.5 to about 25, doubled in 10 years. And now going into 2020, we were at about, it jumped a lot because of the pandemic and whatnot.
Yeah.
So let's just say like 25 million in 2020, and now we're at 35, 36.
So it's fair to say we're moving from at one point over $1 trillion a year in debt to over $2 trillion a year in debt. We're growing easily then, based off of what you just said. Because
in the 2010s we doubled it.
Right, but I'm just saying up until the 2010s, it sounds like it was almost $1 trillion a year.
It's almost like sort of doubling it at every 10 years, if that makes sense. So
that's crazy.
So like in like the 90s, so from like 1990 to 1999, it went from like a little, almost say like 3, a little bit below 3 to about 5.
All right, so one more exercise and let's get off the air here. So what is the current national debt? Forgive me.
What did I say? 36.21,
something like that.
Yeah,
36.21 trillion.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the market cap of Apple?
Whoa, hang on here. Market.
I just want to know, do we have is our nation in debt to the size of the Apple Corporation?
No, Apple is 3.05 trillion.
Okay, so we are 10 Apple corporations in debt.
Yeah.
That's even worse. It would have been better if we were one Apple corporation in debt. Well, soon you're going to see iPhones on the White House lawn.
No, there's no way. They'll never make them here. They'll never be here.
You can't. It's not possible. It's not. It wouldn't even be an iPhone anymore.
It's not. Well, it's just not. It'll be a jitterbug, literally, with an app. Not even. It'll be like the Speak and Safe, like the Fisher Price phone you used to pull with the thing and had the eyes, and yeah, that's what
T is for
here.
tariff.
Oh.
So, do you think?
No, it would be.
Do you think it's worse?
It'll be T is for tariff. The most beautiful word ever. The tariff is what it would be.
Yeah. So grinding around. Do you think that's worse then?
I think
when I said, it's like, in other words, we're 10 Apple corporations in debt as opposed to one Apple corporation in debt, and I said I think that's worse. Obviously, more money in debt is worse. But I mean,
it
like,
just really dictates how big of a corporation it is. Really.
it really, yeah, it's more about how big Apple is than it is our.
Yeah.
But it is kind of wild to think about it in those terms.
Yeah, it is.
So what's the largest company? Now we're talking about the companies. Like, what's a bigger company cap than Apple?
Let's see what is
NVIDIA? What's the largest company in the world by market cap?
Largest.
It's got to be. I think I looked at this the other day, and I was shocked Coke isn't up there. I think NVIDIA's in the top 3, if not one of the top 2.
It would be Apple.
It's still Apple?
Oh, this now, as of June 4th, a little update. We'll give them a little more. As of June 4th of this year, Apple's market cap was $3.68 trillion.
Okay.
Followed by NVIDIA, which is $3.54 trillion. Followed by Microsoft at $3.15 trillion.
Do you see Netflix and Amazon on that?
A lot of effing money.
Just if you see them right in that top
I'm going to
list.
change it to top largest company, whatever. Let's see what it says.
I love this stuff, by the way. I'm sure half the people tuned out already, but I love this stuff.
Asleep. I'm ready to take a nap too, everybody.
It's fine. Just thinking about it.
Well, this must be some old data. I don't have dates on this, so I don't.
No, it's fine. But okay,
But basically, it's Apple. Well, I'll just kind of rearrange Apple, NVIDIA, Microsoft. Then it has Amazon at 2.18 and Google Alphabet at 2.1.
Yeah, and Microsoft is up there somewhere too, I think now.
Or just said Microsoft was number 3.
Which is crazy. Like the top 10 companies by market cap are all techs now.
I mean, does that surprise you?
No, but it wasn't always the way. It doesn't surprise me at all. I'm just saying it's just, take a step back. Coca-Cola used to be one of the biggest companies.
The number 1 asset by market would be gold, Royce, at $22.368 trillion.
I know that because Dennis Quaid told me.
That's right. Thank you, Dennis. And
yeah.
after Google would be Bitcoin, and then silver, and then Meta, and then other things.
But those aren't called, what did you call that? It's not called a market cap.
Asset.
Asset cap?
Yeah. The top assets by market cap is that chart that I just looked at that kind of told us that.
Oh, interesting. So then would cash be on that? Like, would USD be on that?
I could look.
I'm just curious. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, no. I don't think you could.
Or is that the gold?
No, because the U.S. dollar is a dollar, right? I don't think that would be a part. Like,
we shouldn't have this conversation.
Because if $1 was worth like $2 trillion,
goodbye, everybody.
I'm rich. You're like, hello, right? Like,
no, but you were talking. But that was interesting. I didn't think about that by asset size. So
let me see if I can do USD. Maybe if I do like USD to euro, maybe
the dollar is supposed to be backed by gold.
Correct.
So if you're telling me the asset's gold, wouldn't that be it?
But all assets are backed by gold in a way, right?
Not platinum.
No, I mean like what are like other currencies like euros and
again,
and
we should probably just figure this out on our own time.
Yeah, we can do that.
The point is we are in a mountain of debt. That is the real takeaway here, and no amount of assets is going to get us out of it. And you have to ask yourself why. And I think that's why a lot of people got behind Elon, because even if they didn't like Elon, there's people that like the idea of creating efficiencies, and it's not the first time it's been tried, but I think that obviously he went about it all the wrong way.
Well, he was trying to do something very different.
Right. But it's we got to do something. We got to do something. And just to put one last button on that, if Elon sincerely cares about the debt, and I'm not even saying that he does, but if he does, then it would explain his opposition to the bill, because the bill is just pork, right? So I don't think that's the case, quite frankly. I think that the game for Elon was always to turn on Trump. But that goes back to that conspiracy conversation. I just don't think it's a theory. I think
it was the turn. It was to use this opportunity to enrich himself and his company.
Right. And then when I'm done with you, I'll do whatever I need to do at that moment to then enrich myself further, because now I want everyone to love Tesla again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, I enjoy the conversation.
Nice to be here face to face.
Yeah. There's a reason we didn't do video.
Why?
I don't know. We should have, because there was a couple good moments there. But no, we didn't do it because I don't think either one of us felt like getting ready for it.
Nope.
All right. Look, I appreciate y'all. Thank you for listening. A little unhinged there. But at the end of the day, okay, let me just final word. At the end of the day, this culture, this culture that breeds narcissism, this culture that is based off, how many views you're getting and how much attention you're getting, is the reason why people fail to respect other people's endeavors, other people's accomplishments. It's why legacy is so fleeting, because we seem to somehow forget to teach things like the American dream. That's become politicized. So it's kind of a bummer that in this world that we're currently living in, the pursuit of clicks, the pursuit of views is outweighing any real substance. And then in turn, because people are so bitter, because everybody, wants to be somebody other than themselves, they can't look and celebrate one man's accomplishments or anyone else's accomplishments for that matter, because they're too busy trying to find their own way. And you can do both, but that's on you. We'll see you next time.